Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Excel today. Sorry about yesterday. That was 100% my fault. Scheduling wires crossed completely, so my bad. But we're back here today. As we said, we will be here every single week. Not always the same date or time, but we will always be here at least once a week to get you guys, caught up on all the happenings on the channel, but also get you some, have Joe drop some knowledge on you as well. So yeah, sorry about
My
yesterday.
fault this time. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's all my bad. Oh, dang, I didn't even change the ticker yet. Damn, I'm really not on it today. Let's get that
It's
changed.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So today, guys, we are talking about DAX.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna
DAX
be
expressions.
all DAX today. So, um, yeah, there's only a few quick updates I wanted to touch on. Number one, something I haven't been saying, but if you guys do like our videos and everything like that, please like, subscribe, comment. It really helps. We read them all. I do read every single one of them. I try to reply to every single one of them. There's limitations on the settings on what I can see on what's been made comments. So sometimes I won't be able to follow up. Sometimes, guys, just FYI, it's just because I don't. It's showing me that like it's not showing me those comments, so it's just on that side. But I do try to get to every single one of them. When you guys say links don't work, I check them. I actually download the file again, and I do it in 3 different places, all that type of stuff. So we do our best to stay in contact with you guys. Yeah, and then just one quick update on the channel, and that is Sarath. Hello, good morning.
Hey,
Oh
sir.
yeah, it has been quite a while. Anyways, yeah, just one quick update. Real quick is that we are going to be upping the shorts to 2 posts per day, but that's not going to happen until July 22nd. We have our initial run has already been scheduled out. We're getting the data out of it. We're talking with our strategic partner and everything like that over at YouTube and just going through everything like that. And so we'll be upping the amount to 2 a day. Mainly you'll get like an end user or what we call like an Excel, PowerPoint, or Word one, and then the afternoon will probably be something like more along the lines of Adobe or a professional development thing, like a quick business writing tip, like how to write a better email real fast or how to write a better subject real quick, stuff like that. So that'll be coming on July 22nd, and then also we do have a TikTok. We also have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. We have a Twitter. All our shorts are going through all those methods. So if you like to watch shorter videos on any of those platforms, we're there as well. Just look us up. We're Learnit Training. You can look us up on Learnit Training on any of those, and we'll be there. So yeah, just those quick updates. Yeah. Good morning. Let's see. Improved your Excel skills. Oh, great. Yeah. So DAX is perfect for you, Sarath.
Yeah.
And then
Power query. Yeah. That's what.
Shanine, I hope I said your name right. Hello, good morning, or good morning from the Bay Area. I know we have a global audience, so it's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Anyways, that's it for me. Joe, do you have a mug?
No. It's all in. Yeah, it's all still in packing. So it's in my storage somewhere until I get my house settled. I probably won't have a mug for a while, but I do have Smart Water. Not that it has no sponsor or anything, but stay hydrated.
Yeah. I will just share this one. I got this Faithful to the Bay thing, 49er game I went to. If you don't know, I'm a huge 49er fan. I wear the hats a lot of the time on the show. But yeah, I got that. So huge fan. And then also, obviously, if you see the wide screenshot, guys, I have the football helmet behind me as well. So go Niners. That's my little office flair today. A lot of people are getting back in the office, so like our mugs are becoming relevant again. And then also, guys, there's a link to the mugs in the description as well. If you want to support us, that also helps as well. But yeah, that's it for me. Maybe we're gonna jump right into this DAX, or you got any updates, Joe, on your own?
No. Super excited. Just because DAX is one of my favorite things. Data analysis expressions. That's what they call them. So yeah, I want you to think of DAX as like very similar to, I would say, like functions in Excel, right? So there's a if DAX expression, there's an if function in Excel, and they work very much identically. So yeah, I thought I'd just share with you a couple of ones that I use sometimes in my reports. But once again, DAX expressions are really used for creating different measures within your reports. right? Because sometimes when we create these reports, we're not just visualizing reports, we're getting information, more information that we can look at from our data set. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen real quick. And then, as always, Ben, tell me if you see the labyrinth here.
Hold on one second. All right, there we go.
Awesome. So today I'm using just the same, I think the same one we used last time, which was payroll something 2020 or 2021. So just if I open it up in Excel, it's just simplistic data, nothing too crazy here. A couple of like names, employee numbers, what division they work for, what department, things like that. But what I want to look at is I want to start to sort of get some KPIs, key performance indicators about how my hours are, right? Like the total hours. Maybe I want to do projected hours. Maybe I want to just see my sales department hours. The problem with this is that what a lot of people will do is when they bring in their data, they only use visualizations instead of using data cards. It's actually really good to use data cards as well. I know they're not as pretty or, they just don't look too great in a report, but you can use them for those key information pieces, right? So with that said, I'm going to just import some data from Excel here. I'm going to use that payroll 2021. I'm not going to walk through all this. We do have other videos of when we were pulling it into the Power Query, but just know it's always going to be that same thing, right? It's always going to be ETL. So first you want to extract the data like I'm doing right now, extraction. You're then going to want to transform the data so it works for you in your report. Transform. And then last but not least, you're going to want to load it into Power BI so you can actually use it. All right, so ETL. So right now I'm doing the extraction. As always, just a tip for all of you. If you click into payroll, because that's the one we want, it'll give you the preview. You will notice that there's a bunch of null values here, and it also pushed my headers down, which is very important that these aren't pushed down. Like I need the first name to be in column 2. Otherwise, when you have it loaded in here, it'll just say column 2, column 3, column 4, and you won't know what data you're actually dealing with. So it is very important that you fix this data up. But the trick here is you don't have to load this into the Power Query and fix all these things. Because if your data set is a table, you'll notice down here it says, wait, Joe, we have a couple of suggested tables for you. And if I look in my payroll table, you'll see, look how perfect it is. There's no null values. Every header is pushed up. So this looks pretty good. So that's when it's just looking at the data, right? This is looking at the table. This is looking at the entire spreadsheet, which is why sometimes you have to fix it up. And depending on what you're pulling from, whether it's a SQL database or an Access or Azure or Salesforce, sometimes you may have to fix the data because it doesn't come over as tables. But in this one, I got lucky. So I will select table 1 and I will transform data. Even though I know I don't need to do anything here, make it a habit to go into the Power Query just in case. And you'll see from 9 days ago when we did this last time, we'll take a look. Everything looks beautiful. What I'm really looking for, by the way, when I go into the Power Query editor is the green line right here. If you hover over it, it will tell you how much of your data is actually valid, which I have 98 entries here that are valid, which means 100% of my data is okay. There's no null values, which is empty, and there's no errors in my data. So that's what I typically look for when I load data into a data set, is this green bar. If there's something not right here, like it's a little dark, it'll tell you if you hover over, Joe, you have 95 valid pieces of data, but you have like 3 empty. So always look at that green bar. It does have a function. But this looks great. I am going to rename it. I'll just do a quick double click and I'll call this payroll info. And then I will close and apply. Now, when you're creating these measures and using DAX expressions for the measures, what you want to do is place them all in one spot. The reason being is because when you load your report in here, like look at my payroll information query, when you start to create new measures, it goes in alphabetical order. So you're going to find out that your measures are going to be just listed all between all these other ones. And you can start to lose your measures. So I think I did a small video on this, but I'll go over it again. What I do, and this is really brilliant, if you do this and you get into this habit of doing this, it's amazing. If you want to keep your measures together, there's two ways. You can either come up with a naming convention, like for instance, sometimes I'll just do a small a before I write out my measure name. So if I'm looking for total hours, I'll do small a, total hours. And what that does is it makes sure every single one, maybe I'll even do projected hours. I do small a, projected hours. And it just keeps it, because of that small a, it keeps them all at the top of the list. So it bunches them all together. You could do that, or you can create a blank query, which is what I usually do now. I'll go over to enter data. It's going to create a table. You can put anything in this column. I'm actually going to write the word anything. Hold on. Anything, right? You can name your table. I'm just going to call it my measures. And then I'm going to load it in. So now I have a place where I can start to create all my measures, and it's all going to be in its own query, which is amazing, right? No longer do you have to use payroll information query. Everything's going to be aligned. And look at this. Look, payroll information query. And now I have my measures. Now you will see column 1 in there. We will delete that out after our first measure. Don't delete it yet. Just delete it afterwards. And now I have all my measures together. So what is a measure? Well, a measure is calculating all of your columns in one space. So for instance, if I go to my data section here and I click over on my payroll info query, what a measure does is it calculates an entire column at a time. So for instance, maybe I want to see the total hours. So it's going to calculate all of these total hours. And you do that by using different DAX expressions, right? So the first thing that we're going to do here is I'm going to go back over to my report. I'm going to show you what it looks like to create a data card, which you'll find it right next to the gauge here. And when you create a data card, you could just simply take hours and drag it over to the fields. And look at that, it gives you your total hours. Simple enough, right? The only problem with this is it's stagnant, which means you can't really do too much change to it. What happens if I want to see a projection? Maybe I want to see a projection if we increase our hours by like 0.5%, right? So you can't do that here. But what you can do is you can create a measure, right? And I'll just right click on my measures and select new measure. Now it's going to open up this formula bar where we can first name our measure. And that's what you're going to want to do. Name your measure first. I'm going to call it total hours. Now here's where we come up with a DAX expression that will work in our favor. Now, if I want to see the total hours, you probably all know the DAX expression already. And you're probably saying to yourselves, well, Joe, you're the one that's supposed to be teaching us it. Well, remember, DAX expressions are so similar to functions in Excel that some of them cross over and they're the same. So if you think about it, what is something that adds everything together? Well, the sum function, right? We can use the sum function. So I can just type in sum, and I can summarize my payroll hours. So this is the best part about DAX expressions is in Excel, when you write a function, usually you're like, oh, sum A4 to B67, right? Because you're referencing cells. It's a cell reference. But here they don't do that because it's a query. You actually have to reference the name of the query and then the column of the query. So you'll see that my query name is payroll info, and then it shows you we have the benefits column, date of hire, department, division. So all I want to sum up is my payroll query, but the hours column. Then I can close my parentheses, and I just check mark the box or press enter. And now look at this. I have a measure called total hours. And now you can just simply delete the column 1. So I'll just delete that. So now I'm only left with my measures total hours. So now I'm going to use that measure by creating a data card. I'm going to drag my total hours. And you might be saying, well, Joe, that's kind of boring. Why did you just go through all that trouble when you could have just dragged hours into a data card? Well, once again, they can't be changed. So I can't make any changes to this. But let's say I wanted to see the projected hours. I could just simply see the projected hours by going back into the measure and multiplying this entire measure, the sum of the hours, and I'll multiply that by 0.05. And when I press OK here, now I can see my projected hours. How awesome is that? So you're more than welcome to now manipulate measures. That's why measures are so amazing, is because you can do that. So now I would just simply rename this. Of course, I wouldn't call it total hours. I would come over here and call this projected total hours. And it updates it. So let's go through a couple more real quick. So I'm going to do, this is my projected total hours. I'll just move this over here. I also want to do one for my total hours again, because of course I just messed up my total hours. So I'm going to go right click on my measures, new measure. First thing you always do is name a DAX, name your measure, total hours equals. You'll notice that I do use spacing between the name of the measure and then the equal sign and then the DAX expression. You don't need to do this, but once you start to get into this, it just makes it look cleaner and you'll get into that habit. It's, I don't know, it's something that, it's like grammar in DAX, right? So I like to use the spacing. So total hours is going to be the sum DAX of my payroll hours. And then I'll close that. And now we have our total hours. And then I'll just drop that into a data card. And there we go. I may also want, you know what, maybe the average hours. So I'm going to once again right click, new measure, and I'm going to write a DAX expression for average hours. Now, you're probably all going to let me know in the chat box once I answer this, and then I'll take a look at it. Or Ben, you could shout it out for me. What do you think? Which DAX expression do you think we use here? What DAX expression does everyone think I can use? I use the sum DAX expression, which is very similar to the function in Excel, right? How can we find the average of something? We can use, well, the average DAX expression. Once again, a lot of the functions that are in Excel carry over to Power BI DAX. So I'll use the average of my payroll hours. And then that's it. I'll create a data card and drop that DAX right there. And look at that. Perfect. So now we have average hours. We have projected total hours. We have total hours. I may also want to take a look at the different hours in each of my departments. Now, this is going to be a little more of an advanced DAX expression, but it's one that works really, really well. For instance, let's say I want to take a look at only my sales hours for my sales department. I'm going to create a new measure, and we're going to create a measure. It's known as the calculate. So I'm going to just say sales hours. I'm going to do equals, and now I'm going to use the calculate DAX. Now, this DAX expression is not cross-functional with Excel, so you've probably never heard of calculate. So the calculate, what it does is it evaluates data, and then we can create a filter from the data. So you'll even see here, it says it evaluates an expression, and then it's modified by filter. So the first thing we need to grab here is the total hours, okay? Now watch, this is what a lot of people will do when they're first starting out with DAX, which is totally okay. It will work. Ready? You get the total hours. What did we do? We did the sum of the payroll hours, right? And that works beautifully. It really does. But you're going to start to think about things like, wait a second, why am I rewriting the sum of payroll info hours when really I already have a measure that calculates this? It's actually known as an ancestor measure, all right? Ancestor measures allow you to use measures you've already created in new measures, right? So for instance, this sum of payroll info hours here, this is the same thing as total hours. So this is simply this. So I don't want to have to type that whole thing out again like I just did. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just simply use a square bracket And look at that. Once you use that square bracket, you have all of your measures that you've already pre-created. And I'll choose total hours. Simple as that. So instead of having to write sum of payroll total hours, now I just use the measure I've already created. And once again, this is an ancestor formula or an ancestor measure. So I'm going to use total hours. I'm going to put my comma. And now it's saying, well, Joe, what do you want to filter? And what I'm filtering for is really my department, because I want my department to be equal to sales. Now, remember, this is a DAX expression, so I do need to make sure sales is in quotation. So let's actually take a look at this real quick. So all I did so far is I've named the DAX. Okay, I created a name for my measure. I then chose the calculate DAX expression. And then I chose that I want the total hours, right? These total hours, which is equal to here. And I want to filter for sales. I created my filter because I only want to see sales. All right, so that's what this function is doing. I named it. I use the calculate DAX. I choose the total hours, but now out of those total hours, only show me sales. And when I do this, and I put it into a card, now I only see my sales hours. And I'll put this one right down here. Now, the thing is that once you write it out, of course, maybe if you want to practice, you're more than welcome to, but I'm not going to write this out again. That would take me too long, right? I wouldn't want to write all of this out again. So guess what I'm going to do? Select it all, Control C to copy. I'm going to right click, create a new measure. I'm going to Control V to paste it. And now I'm going to look at my department. Let's do department. Let's do research or staff. I have staff. So I'm going to change this to staff. And I'm going to change this to staff. I saved myself so much time. See how easy that was? Now I'll just click the check mark. And now I already have my staff hours. And then I can do that again. Right click, new measure. Control V. And I have research hours as well. Rename it research hours. Now I want to filter for research. I'm done. See how much easier that is when you already write one DAX expression and now you want to write the rest? I'm going to do one more, new measure, Control V. Instead of sales, we have development as well. So the development hours. And then I'll just change the filter to development. And I'm done. So you could do that, just copy and paste. Or if you're learning, of course, I would recommend you write it out so you start to remember these things. So now I'll make this data card for, let's do staff hours. I'll make the data card for research hours. And then also I'll make that data card for development hours, just like that. And if you ever want to, like, by the way, if these are all over the place like this, you're more than welcome to select these by holding down the control key on each one. And then you can go to format and you can align them. So you can align them like in the middle, and then you can distribute them horizontally. And then they make them perfect. I love that. It does a lot of fun stuff with alignment. But now I'll throw in a quick slicer. Watch this. I'll throw in a slicer. We'll do a slicer for division. And now when I click into, let's say, the Connecticut, it gives me all the hours, Maine. And look at that. That's a bunch of amazing information here. And of course, you may want to dress it up, make it look pretty. We have the same capabilities. I'll select all of these by holding the control key. I'll change the look of them. For instance, I'll keep the call out label, but I want the call out value to be none. You've all seen me do this before because I just don't like the way it looks. I'm going to change the color of it to maybe blue. And then I'll just change the call out label to red. There we go. Maybe add a line or something. I don't know, whatever you want. I'm going to insert a shape. I'll insert a rectangle. take this rectangle over here, make it smaller, and then drag it across like that. There we go. Maybe add a border to this thing. I don't know. Just have some fun with it. And we have a little report here. So pretty cool. I am going to show you just one more DAX expression. This one, what it does is it allows you to view what filters being turned on. Like for instance, when I click on Vermont, I just see everything change, but I only know it's Vermont because it says it here. I actually want to create something right here that says Vermont is turned on. And we can do that by using a measure. So I'm going to create a new measure, go to My Measures, right click, new measure. I'm going to call this one Current Filter. And I'm going to use the DAX expression you probably all know. It's called the if DAX, very similar to the if function. So I'll type in if. I'm going to ask the question. It still works the same. The question, if it's true, do something. If it's false, do something else. So I'm going to say that if the selected value, there's a DAX expression known as selected value, and you can choose the selected value as being division for the slicer. So I'm going to say if the selected value of payroll division, because that's what our slicer is, it's the division. So all I'm saying is if you select nothing on this slicer, right? So if the selected value is equal to nothing, that means nothing, quote, quote. If that's true, what I want you to do is I want you to type in all, the word all. But if it's not true, then I just want you to show me what the selected value is of division. Okay, so once again, all I'm saying here in this DAX expression is I'm saying if selected value of the slicer, if you have nothing selected, if that's true, put the word all. But if you do have something selected, just show me what's selected. And let's see if that works. I'm going to create a data card, put in my current filter, and there it is. And now when I select, let's say Vermont, it says Vermont. When I select Maine, it says Maine. When I say Connecticut, Connecticut. And that's just another visual. That's something, fun to do if you wanted to. You don't have to do that, of course. If you click on New Hampshire, they'll probably know it's New Hampshire. But really just a little thing here. And you can, of course, once again, change the visual. But that's just a couple of DAX expressions. Just know there are thousands of DAX expressions out there. So too many for a good 20 minutes of content here. But I hope that you can use some of these and just play around with them. Like I said, measures are great. And to build a measure, you need to know DAX. And when you start to build them, you can start to see like projected things, right? But once you have them built, it's really beneficial. Now, these are some really amazing KPIs that you can take a look at. And it works perfectly. But with that said, that's it. Yeah, that's it for me. I hope you all enjoyed that. We could probably do like a part 2 of certain DAX expressions if you wanted to. Of course, just ask. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Amazing as always, Joe. We did have one quick question from Blaze Katana. Good seeing you again, as always, Blaze Katana. He asked, can this be converted to Excel?
So not the calculate DAX, so that you can't do that. Instead, you would just turn on normal slicers, right? So you would take your data set and then put in your table and then create a slicer off that table. So that's how you can come up with those KPIs. But no, unfortunately, it cannot be converted. If you're talking about like the actual data cards themselves in Excel, you would just have them in the cell living there with an expression. So yeah. Great question.
Yeah, and really, Power BI is really used to transform all that data you guys have in the spreadsheets and Excel and everything like that. You can use that as your data source to create all those visualizations in Power BI. Then that's what Power BI does best, is make all those. Make all your data look beautiful and make it so you can create those types of reports like Joe just demoed and everything like that. I know Tableau is another very Salesforce's version of Power BI. We will be getting some Tableau stuff up on the channels I'm not going to promise this year, but soon we'll have Tableau. We'll probably have some Tableau shorts coming your guys' way as well. Yeah, that's we're at time. So we got a question, and we're all good here today. So next week, if you guys want to drop something in the comments or in the chat here about what we should cover, we'll definitely take it in consideration for next week's show. But I think maybe just another continuation of DAX, because it was pretty popular today. Everyone was pretty enthralled with it. So maybe we'll just do DAX again. DAX part two.
Part two.
Yeah, part two. So we'll do part two next week. We'll try to get that scheduled again. It's going to be on a different day, different time, just when both me and Joe's schedules align. When the stars align, we'll get it scheduled, but it definitely will be next week. And for this week, we have PowerPoint Beginner premiering on Friday at 9:30, and then the week after that will be PowerPoint Advanced, and then I can actually say this time, it'll be Word Beginner after that. We already have everything all set and ready for all three of those. So PowerPoint next, PowerPoint 2021, that is, and the new and updated course, and then Word 2021 right after that. But yeah, that is it. Thanks, Blaze Katana, for joining us. You're awesome as well. We love to continue bringing you guys free training, and it's our mission that office training should be available for everybody. So like, come check our channel out and see what we got what we got. But awesome. That's it for me. Anything else from you, Joe?
That's it. No, I can't wait for next week. We're gonna have some more fun.
Yeah, we will see you guys next week.